Hey, what's going on, everybody? I got my usual crew with me, Darnell and Tyler. I'm Trey, and we're coming your way with the 25th edition of the Don't Kill the Messengers podcast. First thing we're about to get into is the UFC fight night that's coming on this weekend. I think it's got a pretty good card. Darnell, what do you think about the card?
That's a decent card. It's going to be one to showcase a lot of the lesser known and newer fighters to the UFC. But the top two fights on the card are definitely ones that will bring some eyes to watch. Both of them should be exciting, especially with the top card with some it will mean something for the welterweight division.
Yeah, first we'll get into Cerrone versus Patrick Cote. How do you think that fight will go about?
This is an interesting fight because, you have Cerrone coming up in weight. He's usually a top contender at 155, but, the Cowboy is always ready and willing to take a fight. Basically, if he can get to the weight, he'll take the fight. So he's going to be game. He always seems to be ready to fight. But Patrick Cote has been pretty much on a mission lately. He's on a 3-fight win streak. Last fight coming to one of the main eventers, Stephen Thompson. So he's going to be tough to beat. He's been basically on a roll since he came back off of an injury about 2 years ago in the welterweight division. I would have to lean towards him since he's been usually fighting at this weight.
Okay, so you really think the weight class is going to play a huge factor against Cerrone?
Not huge. Cerrone has knockout power for the size still.
Yeah.
But it's just, I'm not sure if he'll be able to deal with Cote's all-around game, especially if he can get it to the ground.
Okay. Now, since you have Cote winning, what do you think would be next for him after? Because if he wins, this would be 4 in a row. So,
probably the loser of the fight after.
Okay.
Or maybe another big time fight against one of the elite 170ers, maybe Big Rig or something like that.
Okay. You think he's prepared for a title shot? You think he still needs some work or what?
He only lost to Stephen Thompson by decision, so it was a unanimous decision. He lost it clearly, but that fight, that still kind of thing shows he's just under that level of the elite at 170, so maybe another win off of an actual usual 170-pounder.
Okay.
But he's ready for that step up to give him another one of those type of guys.
Okay. There you are, man. Then we'll get to Roy McDonald versus Stephen Thompson. What do you think of this fight?
This is about as good of a fight that you can get that's not for a title, especially at a stacked welterweight division. You have two guys that are on fire. Stephen Thompson, he is coming off at least a 5-fight win streak. 6-fight win streak. There we go. Crazy knockout over Johnny Hendricks. Got a head kick knockout over Jake Ellenberger as well. He's just been, his striking seems to be on another level right now. And then you got Rory McDonald, who he's coming off a loss, but his last 5 fights, he's only had 2 losses, and they're both against the champion of the division.
Yeah.
So, this is the elite of the elite for that division, going at it right now. Buckled in for this one. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, me too. I had the experience to see Stephen Thompson for the first time against Big Rig, and something about that guy just caught my eye, man. I just love how he was switching his style up in the ring, bouncing around, hitting them with those kicks and everything like that. I was just very pleased with the way how he fights, just goes about it. So think this would be a good fight for sure with him. And you think definitely whoever wins this will get the chance to fight the champ?
I'm pretty sure because McDonald's last fight with Robbie Lawler was, one for the ages. They went 5 rounds, but just basically his brain gave out from them just throwing haymakers back and forth on Lawler. And it was a questionable. It would have been a questionable decision. It would have been probably a split decision win for either one of them. But Lawler came through in crunch time and got the KO.
Yeah.
So I definitely think he didn't lose in a way where he's not ready to get a rematch. So yeah, I definitely think whoever wins this is next up.
Yeah. Now, when I was talking to you earlier about it a few days back, it sounded like you didn't have a winner in your mind. You got one yet, or you still just riding the fence, or what?
I do see this still as a coin flip. It just kind of depends on who has a better game plan, I think. Can Stephen Thompson stay outside and, switch up his offense enough like he's been doing and get another spectacular win like that? Or can Rory close the distance and maybe do some wrestling and, make Stephen Thompson have to work off his back or something like that? But I guess if you put a gun in my head, I'm going Stephen Thompson.
All right, man. Yeah. So, yeah, I got Stephen Thompson too, man. Just based on, I just love his performance against Big Rig. So, this is going to be a hell of a fight, man. I can't wait for this one. I saw this, I was like, man, this is going to be awesome. So, definitely tune into that. It's for free. So, just check it out on TV if you guys can. I think that's going to be a great fight for you guys to watch if you're tuning in. So, yeah, for sure.
It has potential to end quickly, but it also has potential to be a 5-round war.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Any other thoughts on the UFC?
Nah, just keep feeding us some good ones until we get to 200.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Up next, we're about to just hop into the NFL real quick. There's news going out that Nate Robinson, basketball player, played in the NBA, decided to try out for the Seattle Seahawks for the cornerback position. What were you guys' thoughts when you first heard
that? My thoughts on it were, I don't know about this. I know Lil Nate he's a crazy athlete. He did play corner for Washington his freshman year, but he hasn't played any high-level football since then. So, I'm not sure.
Plus, just to be away from the game just that long.
Yeah, this isn't playing catch in the backyard with your buddies.
Yeah,
This is a real deal thing. But interestingly enough, Pete Carroll actually kind of liked what he saw out of him. He said he caught the ball really, really well. He showed a lot of toughness. He was quick. We all knew Nate Robinson's fast, and smaller guys kind of have that tendency to be fast. So it's not surprising that he still has a lot of the skills needed to go out there and at least compete, and let alone in a tryout look somewhat good. But when asked about it, Carroll actually said the transition's next to impossible.
Yeah,
it's probably not going to happen just because he's been removed so long, like you already said. But I do think he's very athletic. We've seen him jump out of the gym and dunk contests.
Yeah.
Kind of bringing the small guys back into it. But in terms of actually getting into the NFL, I'm going to side with the expert Pete Carroll on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep in mind though, one of his teammates is like the top corner in the league. So, if he's smart, he'd go up to Sherman, ask him for some tips and, whatnot to help him, see if he can get on the team and everything like that. But I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with anybody going out there trying to chase after their dreams and do something with their life. So major props to him. It's just concern for him is, one, he hasn't played, professional or collegiate football in such a long time. Never played professional, but he hasn't played collegiate football in just for the ages. And, plus his size at the corner position, even though he could be able to stick to guys that he's going to be guarding, those jump balls can end up being an absolute hell for him. So just due to his size on the field.
Well, I guess I should kind of go back on my comment and saying he is smaller. He's smaller for the NBA.
Yeah.
I feel like in the NFL, being 5'9", 5'10" isn't as big of a deal.
Well,
but
yeah.
I just wonder if he were to be matched up against a 6'1" receiver, if his ability to jump would make up for the 4 or 5 inches he's losing.
Well, we got to think jumping off a turf is a totally different.
Yeah, that's true.
Jumping on a basketball court.
Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, and also, he's not going to get matched up on the outside with anybody if he were to see. He's going to be a nickel corner at best, and most likely like dime packages, so he could just be on somebody on the inside and maybe do some spy work, because I mean he'll probably be able to track down some of the faster backs and quarterbacks in the league. Yeah. But yeah, they're not going to put him on the outside with like Dez Bryant or somebody.
Although I think that would be a very interesting matchup. I'd be interested to see how he would handle something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Any other thoughts on Nate, guys?
Good luck to you.
Yeah, same here, man.
I'll actually be interested to see if, just for some reason, another team gives him a call and brings him in for a tryout. I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, that too. So, who knows, man? We'll see. It'll just be kind of interesting, to see him balling out on the court like he did. Now he's on a football field. It'd be a little different transition to see, but we wish him best of luck. Now that's what we're about to get into is basketball. But before we get into the playoffs, it's been a lot of news about these NBA players opting out of the Olympics. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Like James Harden, I believe he just opted out this week. So
yeah, I don't know whether it is all because of this Zika virus that's very prevalent down there right now. I know it has scared not just some of these NBA guys away, but a lot of athletes in general have said that they're not going to go compete because of the virus.
Yeah.
Which I believe is understandable. I mean, it's not something you want to mess with for a small kind of window of your career. But I also understand, going to the Olympics may be a once in a lifetime thing for a lot of these athletes.
Yeah.
Some of these NBA guys, not so much, because 4 years from now, a lot of these guys will still be in the league and still at the talent level to make an Olympic team. But if they, say no, I would understand it, despite kind of the national hype that comes around being on the Olympic teams and being able to participate in the Olympics. Like, that's a huge honor.
Yeah.
I know if it were me, I'd be down there, only because I think being able to represent your country would, it doesn't come with a paycheck, but I think it would be more, it would be a better experience than just suiting it up every night in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it might have to do with the Zika virus, like Ty said. Some of it is just, I think with some of the bigger name players, it's getting to be a little bit of old hat, where they've done it a few times, so step to the side, let somebody else get in there and do it. And for some of them, it's just, I mean, like a Steph Curry, he's been dealing with, knee and ankle and all this kind of stuff. Why put that much more of a beating on yourself?
When you're already almost playing 100 games in the season.
Yeah, exactly. So
there's more wear and tear.
I think it's just leading to probably the NBA is going to have to look into some things, maybe set once you get to a certain age or seniority in the league, you're exempt from going to the Olympics or something like that. Or, I mean, if you make it to the finals or something like that, you might be able to get that. I mean, they get to choose for themselves anyway, but I think it's just something they might have to start looking into. anyway, just, because they probably want to protect their players as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, not necessarily giving the NBA or any of the players a pass, but I feel like you can pick the 6 or 7 best players in the NBA, have all of them sit out, and the USA could still make it to the gold game, no problem.
Yeah.
With just the amount of talent that we have compared to everybody else, especially in basketball, I'm not making too big of a deal of these NBA athletes saying, I'm not going to go this time.
Yeah. Now, do you guys think that professional athletes, like professional basketball players, you think they should be able to play in the Olympics or what?
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with it. I know a lot of people really took pride when it wasn't these big time paid athletes, and a lot of college athletes were going to the Olympics and, still winning gold medals. I think probably most notably that 1980 Olympic team was Olympic hockey team, the movie Miracle, where that team beat the dominant Russian team or the USSR at the time. And those were all college kids. And that kind of added to, I guess, the credibility of them winning the gold medal that year and beating the Russians. But, to me, I don't know that it really matters. I feel being able to represent your country, no matter what your status is in the professional or amateur ranks, if you're good enough to be able to compete for our country, you should be able to compete for our country.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine either way. I just want it to be balanced across the board. Because, I mean, on the basketball side, the reason we started sending pros is because we were basically the only country sending, quote, amateurs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it would be some college kids that were bound for the NBA that would go, so they would be good. But, I mean, they would be matching up with players that have been in pro leagues for their national team for 5-10 years, so they just have that experience over these kids, and they started beating up on us. So then that's when the dream team was born, and basically America flexed our basketball muscle there to show that if we send pros too, you have no shot. So I mean, I would be fine if everybody agreed that we only send amateurs, but I don't think all the rest of the world is going to do that. So I think we return the favor and we send our pros.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys think we could send college athletes and still at least walk away with a medal?
I mean, we could possibly win a medal, but I mean, I don't think it's given. Because I mean, think about it. What was it, like 3 or 4 Olympics ago when they just got the bronze, and that was with LeBron, Melo, and D Wade on the team, but that was only in like their second year. When Larry Brown was the coach, they got a bronze medal, I think.
Yeah, I think that was the year they lost to Greece.
Yeah.
So, I remember that.
Yeah, and that was what at the time was basically the second tier of the NBA. Yeah. I mean, some of it was just it was a bad dynamic with Larry Brown not liking to play the young guys, but I wouldn't guarantee a medal if we sent all college kids or NBA rookies, basically.
Yeah, and I guess I just find that interesting because, we have great college talent in America, and I would find it very interesting if for some reason we were to send, college athletes only, how they would compete in basketball, because I bet they'd be able to compete with a lot of the countries, but when they kind of play in more of the Spains and
exactly Spain, Mexico, or Puerto Rico, I should say, and
Brazil usually has a pretty decent team. I would just find it very, very interesting to see how they would compete against pros from around the world.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with the pros going and things like that. However, just kind of how I'm thinking, I would just love to see, guys that are in college who may not go pro, be a time for them to get the chance to shine and support the country, show off their talents, and, bring a medal to the country. So always look at the NBA. I mean, it's just a superior league. You're playing against all these talented players and stuff like that. But just for the players who are in college, just going out there, just trying to go to college for free or whatnot, or don't want to go play pro, just be a good time for them to just go suit up for the country, go over sees, or whether it's over here too, and just play for the country, let their name be known out there for one last time, and just bring a medal home. So I understand, if the professional players want to support their country too, go for it. But I would just like to see some college athletes step it up too and just get their name out there one last time if they don't go pro, or if they just turn out to be a bust, maybe in the league. So it'd just be good for them to have a title for the country. So.
I mean, that's a good hope, but I don't think if we're not sending NBA caliber college kids, we're definitely not winning a medal.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think another way to kind of look at it is when you look at all of the other, and not even the other countries, but just the other sports, we want to send our best athletes, period. Mm-hmm. And if that's the idea of the Olympics, you're sending your country's best. I mean, at that point, we're kind of put in the corner and said, hey, send your NBA players.
Yeah.
So really, and that's why I have no problem with it, because if the idea of the Olympics is for the best athletes around the world to compete against each other, send your best. Doesn't matter.
That's true. For sure. Any other thing else to add to this, guys?
No.
USA. USA.
All right, we'll get to the playoffs now. Before you guys start on Game 4 and Game 5.
Lead us off, Ty.
All right. Well, I think Game 4 wasn't a surprise. Golden State stealing one on the road. I even said if a team's going to win on the road, it's going to be Golden State. I think Game 4, Curry played very well. I believe he had, 38 in Game 4. Shot the ball really well, showed up, kind of answered the critics a little bit. Game 5, not so much, but, I think it comes back to the LeBron treatment. We expect LeBron to do everything for the Cavaliers, and although Steph Curry's in a different situation, we're still kind of expecting him to be the same guy he was all year long. And I think as someone who is kind of backing LeBron, being like, well, he can't necessarily do it all, I have to be fair and back Steph and say, well, he can't necessarily shoot, lights out every single game. It's just the fact that right now it seems like the games are few and far between because they mean so much at this point. But Game 4 was great. Golden State won America a free taco at Taco Bell on June 21st, I believe. But so I'll be going to that. Then I think Game 5, the big story is the suspension, which we'll talk about to Draymond Green. But I think him not playing definitely altered the game a little bit, but I think you have to give big credit to both LeBron and Kyrie Irving, who both played phenomenal, scoring 41 apiece, just taking control. I mean, granted, Kyrie Irving, that's probably the best shooting performance he'll ever have. And I think there's no denying that, that was kind of out of the ordinary for him. But LeBron kind of did what LeBron needs to do and will need to do again in Game 6 if they want to keep the series alive. So I think Game 5 was just odd because Bogut went down. Draymond was out. So you basically had the two best rim protectors, arguably the two best, because you could potentially put Festus Ezeli in that conversation, but I would take Draymond over Festus Ezeli when it comes to defense around the bucket. But having those two out, LeBron attacking the rim like crazy, scoring 41, and then Kyrie shooting, I believe he shot over 70%, and scoring 41. It was just kind of an odd combination. One very unfortunate situation two very unfortunate situations for Golden State, and two fortunate situations in both their studs scoring 41 for Cleveland. It was just kind of an odd game to watch, in my opinion, even though LeBron and Kyrie put a show on.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting couple of games. I mean, I feel like in Game 4, we finally got that breakout game from Steph. He put up 38. Well, basically, finally we got a game where Clay and Steph both played well.
Yeah.
38 and 25 between them. And then the fourth quarter of Game 4, I mean, I think it was a big moment for that game, but the negative consequence bled into Game 5 with the altercation between Draymond and LeBron. Like, I kind of feel like that was a changing point. That was a turning point that gave that game to Golden State, because I feel like at that moment, just kind of, I do believe Draymond was just in LeBron's head right there. Because, I mean, he basically flipped out later, found out it was because Draymond had called him a female dog. So I guess he wasn't having it, but I just feel like the Cavs kind of laid down after that, and Golden State kind of got hyped up from it, just seeing their vocal leader didn't back down from King James. But after that, we found out where Draymond got suspended, and then on top of that, with Bogut going out, it seemed like it was just the Cavs' night there. And I mean, you had Kyrie Irving shooting an effective field goal percentage of like 80%. With the advanced stat numbers. Sorry, Wilbon. But I just feel like that course of events, what won Golden State Game 4, lost in Game 5 because they didn't have that cohesive unit. And I mean, you could see Cleveland just was for blood there. And the last takeaway is just get Kevin Love out of here.
Yeah, he needs to step it up for sure. I kind of texted you guys saying that I had a feeling that LeBron James was going to go off in Game 5. I just felt due to that, Klay Thompson, he had the kind of press conference where he was talking about he think that they hurt his feelings and whatnot. And then you had Space getting online on Twitter, putting the baby bottle emoji or whatever it was on there. My whole thing was that, like, you don't want to give like a player like LeBron any more motivation to just go out there and just want to destroy you. Do you think that those two instances also played a key role in adding fuel to the fire?
I mean, I think it motivated LeBron. I mean, he was getting a lot of there was a lot of negative press coming his way as well due to that altercation. I mean, we know Draymond got suspended from it, but I mean, like Stephen A. Smith came out immediately and said he thought it was BS, and you had Antonio Davis on ESPN radio saying the way he didn't respond after the altercation by going off and scoring, then he basically hinted that maybe he is a B. So I think it was just he had to show up and do something, and he did. And I mean, and he should have. You don't have the guy that's been giving you the most trouble this year, since he seems to have kind of figured out Iguodala now. So Draymond was the one that was tasked to give him more trouble, which had been working, but that guy wasn't there. Their next best rim protector, their best rim protector was gone, and Bogut. This was the time for LeBron to do what he does, and he did, and he got support from Kyrie playing out of his mind.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Trey. You never want to wake LeBron James up if he's in a deep sleep, as it seemed he was in, really. But it's odd to me because I feel like LeBron seems to do some of the best work when his back's against the wall. Like, you're down 2-0 going home for Game 3. He has a pretty good game. He answers some critics.
Yeah.
Game 4 kind of disappeared, but now you're down 3-1. and you got to do something. Then he comes out and scores 41. It's like, why can't he seem to have this type of urgency to get himself ahead? I mean, I don't, granted, I do think Golden State is just a better team. Despite picking Cleveland to win, I thought Cleveland was just a little hotter coming into the series, a little more rested, and ultimately that's why I picked Cleveland. Yeah. But knowing Golden State's a better team in general, but, I just think that, like Darnell said, Game 5 just kind of set up for LeBron to go off and Cleveland to win. But I do think we'll see another performance like this out of LeBron, knowing he basically has to do it again. It'll be interesting to see if he kind of gets passive and tries to get other people involved before he just kind of says, you know what, forget it, I'm taking over. Because that kind of seems like what he's done over the last few games. Seems like the first few minutes he's trying to get everybody else involved. Then he's just kind of like, screw it. And then he starts doing it himself. Yeah. But, LeBron can score 50, 60, 70 points for all I care. He needs somebody else to put up 25 or 30 alongside of him for them to win again.
Yeah, he can't do it by himself, that's for sure.
I completely agree there. The only thing is, outside, Kyrie Irving's been somewhat consistent this series. And if it's not going to be him, I don't think it's going to be anybody. So him and Kyrie have to basically team up again for anywhere between, 75 to 85 points. I think they just have to.
For sure. And I mean, going back to the LeBron deal, I mean, I know we've talked about it some, but I just think some people are asking more, like, they're asking of LeBron what he is not. He is not, he's not in that Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant mold. He's more Magic. Like, he is gonna get people involved.
Yeah, playmaker.
I wouldn't call him even as clutch as Magic was back in his day, because, I mean, you could guarantee he was gonna usually take the last shot after Kareem had retired, but it's just, that's not LeBron's game. He's gonna make the right basketball play. Yeah. So he may go off for 40, but most of his points are going to come in the rhythm of the game. Yeah, which is why Kyrie overshadowed him last game, even though his numbers were probably better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with just LeBron's IQ. It's almost like it's in his DNA to always try and make the right play instead of just doing what you need to do to get a basket. Mm-hmm. Or doing what you need to do to get somebody else the ball when he's trying to take over. It's like, I almost feel like very few times his instinct takes over his IQ. Mm-hmm. And not saying that's a knock, because, it's worked very well for him. It just so happens that he always seems to have a kryptonite minus those 2 years in the NBA Finals. I mean, if you're going to have 2 wins in 6 attempts, there's just going to be something about you in the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunate, but that's how it is.
Well, and it's kind of the curse of, with most of the losses, he was playing in the East, which was weak, and he's good enough to get a team to the finals by himself.
Yeah.
It kind of goes a lot with, Trey would know, my boy, back in the day, Jason Kidd, I thought he was the best point guard in the league. He would drag a cast of characters to the finals and just get blown out by whoever the West was.
For sure.
Yeah, and I wonder, not necessarily why that is, because I think you have more stars out west. I think you could put each, basically look at the All-Star game and I'll take the West almost every time. Mm-hmm. But I also wonder how much of that is just, I don't know, does the West just have that much more quote unquote destination teams? Or is it just the fact that, I don't know, the East just has worse GMs, worse front office, worse management?
I think it's a little bit of both. In this day and age, teams are a little more conscious about where they're playing. Like, not really the market, but I mean, most of the season is during the winter. Would you rather be in California, Texas, or Chicago or Detroit?
Yeah, true.
I mean, you usually have to be an elite GM if you're going to win a title in the East in this day and age. It wasn't the case back in the 80s and early 90s, but now it's gotten to that point where, I mean, look at the biggest market in the country is New York, but what do? Nothing. They lose. So
as of late, yeah. I mean, they really haven't won since what, late 90s, early 2000s.
Well, I mean, you're just talking about getting to the playoffs, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, they haven't done really much since Patrick Ewing.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think that's just the shift in things. They got their one elite player in Carmelo, but they got him basically because that's where he's from. It's kind of hard to just. I think it's hard to get players to come there, which is, I mean, people got mad at LeBron when he went to Miami, but my response to everybody was always, "Where would you rather play?"
Yeah, with your one of your best friends down in Miami, or with a team full of scrubs in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I mean, how he single-handedly got that, what was it, 2007 team to the finals is still mind-boggling to me, because I think everybody knew he was still only getting better at that point, but he had nobody around him.
Yeah.
He had absolutely nobody. And when they beat Detroit in the Eastern Conference Finals that year, I couldn't believe it.
Well, I don't think anybody from these parts will ever be able to believe or forget that.
Got that right.
Yeah. Now let's get to Draymond Green. What are you guys' thoughts on suspension? And based on the low blow, has he showed that he truly is a dirty player?
I mean, we all had our back and forth on this one via our group text when it was, I mean, after it happened and everything. With me, with that one, he was wrong. He should have got suspended. You're not going to hear any complaint from me there. But I had no issue with what he did during the altercation, because I feel like Brown was trying to show dominance or disrespect or something with that step over. And
so you were okay with him calling LeBron a bitch?
I mean, he was heated, so he said, I mean, I'm not for calling any man that or a woman, of course, but I mean, they were in the heat of the moment. You got a man putting his balls on your neck, and you get up, and so I'm not shocked something came out of his mouth that was derogatory. So I'm sorry, I've been on a basketball court. You're not going to step over me like I'm beneath you and try to walk off like nothing's happened. Yeah, I'm not shocked he got in his face and said something.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You know, I think, I don't know, when we were discussing back and forth, I was basically saying I'm not surprised. You know, I think he deserved it. He's a repeat offender of controversial play. It's not the first time he's been involved in the man region. You know, it's almost like when your little brother keeps hitting you, and he hits you, and he hits you, and he hits you, and your parents just like, come on, you're the older brother, just be the bigger man. And then he hits you, and then he hits you some more, and then the big brother just socks the little brother. It's like, well, what'd you expect? Yeah. So it's kind of like, you know, we were just kind of waiting, you know, is the NBA going to let him get away with this forever, or are they going to suspend him? I mean, it was one of two, and no matter what the decision was, just like the conversation we're having with the refs, no matter which decision you make, someone's going to be very unhappy. And it just so happened that Golden State was unhappy this time. But one thing my brother and I were talking about was who is probably the most upset about Draymond Green getting suspended. And he asked me that question, and I go, I don't know who. He goes, Oklahoma City. Because they all thought he should have been suspended with the Steven Adams altercation, which I don't necessarily disagree with, but I could see Oklahoma City fans going, they're deciding to suspend him now in the finals, because I almost guarantee if they suspended him against Oklahoma City would be in the finals. So I think they kind of tried to hold on as long as they could with, holding off the suspension? Yes. But I also said, if Draymond were to do anything to LeBron, it's game over. He's suspended.
Yeah, you said that before.
It was just, I just knew that would happen. I didn't necessarily expect Draymond to do anything to LeBron, but I also didn't expect LeBron to completely play instigator and go out of his way or over his way to get Draymond Green suspended. I mean, I've heard a bunch of people be like, "Oh, it's a smart play from LeBron," and I'm like, "Whoa, let's not give him too much credit here." I do believe Draymond's in his head. I do believe Draymond's chirping every time up and down the floor at him. It's who Draymond is. He likes to talk, and that's fine. He's not the only guy who likes to talk, and probably not the only one talking on the floor in this series. It's just the fact that I think LeBron lost it and Draymond lost it. It just so happens that Draymond was the repeat offender, and it was LeBron James. I don't think there's any more to it than that. I don't think it's the NBA trying to give Cleveland more hope, trying to get LeBron a title. I don't think it's any of that. I just think it's the fact that LeBron's still kind of babied by the NBA a little bit. But when you're the NBA's poster child for years and years, they're going to protect you in a situation like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's just look back at the end of Game 4, or Game 3, I believe, when Tyronn Lue came out saying LeBron doesn't get any calls.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff came out. So, I mean, that was kind of cold to the refs. You need to start looking and protecting our guy more. To the league, you need to start looking and protecting our guy more. This guy is talking a lot, and he's making LeBron angry.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that situation happened, and I mean, especially once screenshots started coming out showing that LeBron caught him in the groin area. That was like, you knew that was a wrap, because in fast motion, when it happened,
yeah, I didn't see it live.
Yeah,
I didn't catch it.
Yeah, and the announcers were even like, well, the NBA will probably review that double foul that happened after, once they went to both go for the rebound and got locked up before the benches cleared and all that kind of stuff. But so I think at first it would have just been a double foul and out of there, but I think social media had a part in bringing the still shots and slow motion into play to get him suspended and help the Cavs case with that. But I mean, just to go with what we've been saying, I do like you said, I think he's in his head. I think it's almost boiling down to a Dennis Rodman, Karl Malone type situation, where as good of a player as LeBron is, if that guy is in his head and saying stuff all the time, when it comes to the tough moment, he's gonna fold, make a mistake.
Yeah, because I do believe that whole entire situation was LeBron just being completely frustrated, and then after the game, it was Tyronn Lue being frustrated. I think being down 3-1, Cleveland was just frustrated, and I'm not gonna go ahead and sit here and say Tyronn Lue's being like tapping Adam Silver on the shoulder, being like, hey, we gotta look at that. We gotta look at that. Are you gonna make a decision? Come on. Like, I don't know that was necessarily happening, and I know that's not what you were saying he was doing, but I do, and I said this in our text message. I said that situation already was going to be reviewed no matter what. Any situation where people were getting really tangled up, and the fact that it was LeBron and Draymond, you knew that was going to go ahead and get looked at. Social media didn't help it. I definitely don't think it helped, there being screenshots, slow motions, vines, and just constant showing of that sequence. But I do think that it was already going to be looked at and reviewed multiple times, even if there wasn't social media.
Yeah. I don't know about the whole Draymond getting in his head part.
He was in his head, man.
LeBron's been putting up numbers, dude. I mean,
what happened in the fourth quarter of Game 4, Dre? What did LeBron do?
There have been plenty of times he hasn't showed up in the finals before.
Okay, since that series against Dallas, when has he not come to play in the fourth quarter?
Hey, man.
This was a situation where a guy that likes to talk a lot, he plays physical defense, got into a guy that's not used to somebody bullying him, got in his head.
Okay. You know, if you say so, but I'll get to my point.
Video evidence is there.
Okay. I mean, he didn't show up after the thing, but like I said, man, LeBron's been putting up numbers this whole series. But I mean, you got a point with the whole fourth quarter thing, but this is my whole kind of perspective of the whole situation. So, it's wild, man. Getting in his head, wow. But okay. But yeah, here's my whole thing, man. You know, Draymond, he's had the instances before, you know, especially with OKC, with him being considered a dirty player, with all the kicks and stuff like that he's been going through. So I'm not surprised at all that he got suspended when they showed the low blow that he had on LeBron, on LeBron James. That was not a surprise to me. And part of me, I believe that, you know, the NBA is about money and ratings. I don't think they wanted the series to possibly go 4-1. So a good way for them to do it is just take out Draymond. I think that it'll be smart for them to just extend the series, get more money out of it, get more views. That's part of the reason why I think he got suspended. But me, if I'm LeBron James, this is me. If I'm guarding a guy and I'm in the NBA Finals and he falls down on the floor, I don't care who they are. If I have to, how I see it, if a guy falls down on the floor, I see a 5-on-4 play. So if I have to go around him, step over him, whatever it may be, to get to an open spot on the floor so I can generate points for my team, I'm gonna do it. You know, sorry, call me a douchebag, call me mean or whatever, but I'm gonna do whatever I got to do to make sure that my team wins. So I can understand on that part from LeBron. But then again, you know, Draymond, he probably didn't like that. But guess what? Draymond is a guy that he likes to talk the talk and everything like that. If you don't want to be stepped over anything like that, don't let a guy knock you down to the point where he can step over you on the floor.
Okay.
You know?
Now question. Let's put some logic in this now.
Okay.
Guy is on the floor, and you watch that video. LeBron actually stepped over him. If you're looking to get to a spot that quick and get open, if you're going to go over him, when you jump, when you run, he actually pretty much just kind of casually stepped over him to try to get to a spot. It wasn't him, let me try to get open. It didn't happen in that way.
Yeah, to me, it was kind of like LeBron was standing there going, fee, fi, fo, I smell Draymond on the floor. And he just took one giant step over him and was like, I'm not having any of this. I mean, granted, I don't think he was trying to, be like, oh, that's Draymond Green. Let's get him in trouble. You know, I don't think that flew through his head at any. Yeah, I don't think that flew through his head at any point. But he was definitely trying to make a statement.
Mm-hmm. Maybe he was, you know, possibly. I'm not in LeBron James' head. I just know for me, if I see a guy on the floor and I know it's a 5-on-4 opportunity, I don't care if I got to step over you, around you. I don't care. I'm going to try to get to whatever position on the court where I have to be to get to where I want to be. So I don't know if, you know, LeBron James, he doesn't have the kicks and everything like a Draymond Green to, you know, show that he's a like dirty player, like the media and stuff has been attacking Draymond. But, you know, for me, you know, if I'm LeBron, you know, it could be maybe Draymond was getting in his head too before the game, before that instance to make him want to do that. But me, if I'm LeBron and I see him on the floor, I'm sorry, I'm going to get to where I want to get. You know, I understand that stepping over him or stepping on him, whatever it may be, is disrespectful, but I'm going to do whatever I have to do to make sure my team wins.
And now, like I said, I get that. I understand exactly what you're saying, but it's just that instance doesn't play out what you're saying. I mean, they were at the top of the key, so honestly, if the easiest way for him to get to an open spot would have been to sprint towards the free throw line. Yeah. He went over him towards where the ball was.
Yeah,
and it's
kind
just
of
like
making a direct line toward the bench.
Yeah, so that really made no sense other than what he was doing it. And I mean, I take it back to like I definitely feel like he was trying to show like he was trying to get back some of his I don't know masculinity or something. I don't know, but it was definitely a sign of disrespect because I go back to his own coach. If anybody remembers in the finals, the one game where Allen Iverson went off, Tyronn Lue fell after Iverson hit a jump shot, and Iverson steps directly over him to go back to play defense. No reason for it to happen. He was just saying, you can't guard me. You don't need to be around me. You're beneath me. I'm stepping over you just to show it. And he hasn't lived that down now. It's still a Twitter meme that people throw up all the time when you want to make fun of Tyronn Lue. Yeah. Draymond he wasn't going to be that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like I said, maybe he got into a, maybe Draymond wasn't his head to make him do that. I'm just, just like if it was me, that's what I would do. I'm throwing if it was me, if I was in that position or whatever. So,
and like I said, your point was valid. There's no part of me that thinks that's what LeBron was doing.
Okay, that's reasonable. Could be, but that would just be me. But yeah, anything else to add to the situation, guys?
Well, I think since you raised the question, is he a dirty player? Tran, is Draymond Green dirty? Yes or no?
This is tough.
Yeah, yes or no?
I'm gonna say no right now at this point. It was just like that situation with the low blow. I think that just happened so quick and so fast, and it was just like boom, that it just like happened just out of nowhere.
Okay, so Darnell?
I do think the kicks and stuff, he can do stuff to stop that for sure. But I just think being in the moment, a guy stepping over you, you just want to get up after doing that, and your arm just hits him there. I think that's just what happened. So. Not yet, but he's on the verge. He's on the fence.
Okay, Darnell, yes or no?
No.
Okay.
He's edgy. He has some stuff he needs to fix about himself. Like, he can't be throwing his leg out anymore for stuff. I mean, it's something that has to be fixed, but I mean, there's other players that had that issue. Like, Trey's favorite player of all time used to kick people all the time, throwing up jumpers. Mm-hmm. So, it's something he's gotten in trouble for it enough times for people going up to block him and his leg goes up. And then the issue with LeBron was a cherry on top. So, no, but he's been put in that situation enough where it's like you have to figure out a way to stop him.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about you, Ty?
I'm going to go yes.
Okay.
I'm going to say yes. Only because it happens once. Okay, whatever. Happens twice. Okay. Happens 3 times? Come on. Happens again? Dude. Like, granted, and I think it's because it all started on a play that was very controversial with Steven Adams. Like, that one, whether or not you want to say he did it on purpose, that one looked the worst of all of them. And I think it kind of already put a bad taste in my mouth that anything after that was kind of like, dude, you're actually doing this. Like, if it was just, a forearm the first time, like, this other stuff may not look that bad to me. But I think the first one on Steven Adams to the groin was bad enough that it just left a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes.
All right. That's respectful.
Yeah, I got no issues with it. Yeah.
I mean, but that's the thing. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, he's a terrible player because he's dirty. Oh, he's a great player.
Yeah.
Just, he likes to get physical and find ways to get physical. So, whatever.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Sure. All right. Now, what do you guys expect to see in Game 6 and possibly Game 7? You think this ends tomorrow or what?
I think I'm going to go back to my early prediction of Golden State in 7. I think we get a close game here, but I think Draymond now has to play that line where he can't step over it now, and he has to figure out a way to not just totally change his game, but still be effective. And I think it might take a game to get into that.
Yeah, I agree. I think we'll see a little bit more of a reserved Draymond Green. I think we'll see him try and bring intensity in a few ways that he has not brought it so far. I mean, he brings intensity through when there's a bad call, he lets the refs hear it. When someone's getting physical with him, he's going to get physical back. And I think he's going to lay off in those areas. And I think we're going to see more hustle. And I think we're going to see just more speaking through his play than we've seen so far. I think Golden State not having Bogut's going to be big because they're either going to be forced to camp Draymond around the green or around the rim, or have him guard LeBron because LeBron's been, well, at least last game he got to the rim on everybody, including the quote unquote LeBron kryptonite Andre Iguodala. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how they handle LeBron this next game. But I think Cleveland being at home, they'll play really well, give their fans one last great show at home. And I think they're going to force 7, where I'm going to need to see what happens in Game 6. Even if Cleveland wins, depending how Golden State looks, their demeanor, things like that, that'll determine what I say about Game 7. But I think if anybody's, if Golden State's going to win, it's because they're going to shoot the lights out.
Yeah.
And Cleveland has not been able to go shot for shot with them when they're shooting the ball well. So and I think that was kind of the story going into the series. If Golden State shoots the ball well, they're going to win easily. So I'm still going to go ahead and say I think Cleveland's going to win this game. And if they don't, it's because Curry and Thompson are going to have that, point total of 70 to 80, just like I think Cleveland needs out of Kyrie and LeBron
again. This is what I think. I believe Golden State will have to win tomorrow to do it, because I think if LeBron wins this game tomorrow, Thursday night, I think they're going to have all the momentum going into Game 7. I just think they'll just have the momentum. I think they would have found the kind of niche to beat Golden State. With all this trash talking stuff going to LeBron, I just don't think you just want to have a guy like him going in there with all that momentum and stuff into a Game 7 to try to close it out. It just wouldn't. Golden State hasn't really gave up to straight losses this season, so I just think they just have to go out there and just ball out and just close it tomorrow night. Because I think if they give LeBron a chance to win tomorrow, I think them and those guys are going to come up there, just be confident, and then ready to just ball out in Game 7. So, if Golden State wins tomorrow, they got the championship. But I think if LeBron ends up pulling it off, they're going to go out there and win it in Game 7. So that's just how I'm feeling right now.
I think if it gets to Game 7, I think we could potentially see the highest rated NBA Finals game ever. And I also think it'll be one of the most hyped games in the last 16 years. Wow. Like, I think if this game gets to 7, it's going to be very intense, very hype. Just about everybody's going to be watching. I think it'll be top of the line TV.
Yeah.
No matter what else is on, like, the channel's not changing.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good one for sure. You know, just hopefully it'll be close, man, because these games have been pretty lopsided for sure.
Mm-hmm.